Hey GED students, it's GED question of the daytime. We've got another divisibility style problem that could show up on your first 5 problems of the math test. Those are the ones where you don't have a calculator. So if it did show up, it would come up in that context, or it's one of the preliminary skills, that gets taught before you do fractions, because it's super useful for fractions, as well as a later algebra skill known as factoring polynomials. So this skill, super useful. What is it? It is finding the greatest common factor. I've been asked, what is the greatest common factor of 24 and 42? So there's a few ways you could do this problem. There really is. So how most teachers teach, and there's nothing wrong with this method, okay, is they teach you to find all the factors of 24. And so you go, and remember, to find all the factors, you'd be doing that factor rainbow that we did in another lesson. And then they'll teach you to find all the factors of 42, and then they'll make you look at all the factors of 24, all the things that divide it perfectly, like 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth, and all the factors of 42, all the things that divide it perfectly, and then they'll ask you to find the one that's the biggest. Now, there's nothing wrong with that method. However, a lot of students hate it because they hate finding all factors. They think finding all factors is a challenging skill, and to have to do it twice for one problem is just rude. And they often do the finding all factors part wrong, and so they get it wrong. And so I'm going to teach you a little trick method for greatest common factor. And it's very, very similar to my trick that I'll use later for reducing fractions, because the greatest common factor is a key to reducing fractions. So I'll do that the same way similarly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the two numbers, 24 and 42, and I'm going to put them in kind of like this upside down long division house. Now, the symbol's not important. What's important is your work. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start keeping track of any and all factors that I can find inside of these that are common, I should say, to both of these numbers. Any number that I know divides them both. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the greatest common factor, just any common factor is what I'll start with. Now I'm going to get to greatest, don't worry. But what I happen to notice is that both 24 and 42 are even. Did you notice that? And because of my divisibility tricks, I know that all even numbers are divisible by 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 2 right there on the outside. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide out that factor of 2 to consider what else is left in this number after I think about the 2. So let's do that. I'll divide 24 by 2, and I'm going to use my sight division skills. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 4 twice. This is also called short division, by the way. 2 goes into 4 twice, perfectly, no remainder, and 2 goes into 2 once. And so I'm left now with the numbers 12 and 21, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue removing every common factor larger than 1, because 1 doesn't make a difference. Continue dividing out any common factor until I don't see that they have anything left in common. So looking at these two numbers now, they're not both even anymore, so they don't have a 2 in common. But be careful, 2 is not the only factor. You could be looking for any prime number. And here's what I notice. Both of these numbers are divisible by 3. A quick sum of digits tricks would tell me that. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the sum of digits trick, go check that out. It's the divisibility trick for 3s, and it's beautiful. But that tells me that both these numbers contain a 3. So 3 goes into 12 4 times, and 3 goes into 21 7 times. I divide out the common factor. Now examine the two numbers that I have left, 4 and 7. Well, I happen to know that 7 is a prime number, so the only thing that I'm going to be able to divide it by is 1 or 7. And obviously 4 is not going to divide by 7. 1s aren't helpful. And so I'm done. I've found all the common factors here, all that are bigger than 1. And so The common factors are 2 and 3. Now you might say, but Kate, I didn't need any of the common factors. I needed the greatest common factor. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take the two common factors you found, and if you pulled them out by dividing, you should put them back together by multiplying. So 2 times 3 is 6. The greatest common factor of 24 and 42 is 6. And I'll write that in math speech, since I am a mathematician and I do speak the language, and there's how I write it without ever having to spell in a complete math sentence. The greatest common factor of 24 and 42 is 6. If you have any questions about this or any other GED math topic, be sure to drop it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it.